Hi everyone. It's Thursday, December 11th, and and the title of our discussion tonight is peace signs. So we might talk about peace, we might talk about symbols, we might talk about Advent, a lot of different directions that this conversation could go, and I'm open to things that are on your hearts tonight. So let's start out with our usual introductions and icebreakers. So say the name that you would like to be called and your pronouns and the answer to the icebreaker, which Leo is going to share with us.
Okay, go.
Thank you, Marco. Hi, everybody. My name is Leo, pronouns he, him. And today's icebreaker question is, what do you wish you had given up on? For me, it would have to be playing the piano.
Aw.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, it's what do you wish you hadn't given up on? Mhm. Okay, your turn, Mike.
Well, that's a hard one to just throw on somebody.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Jared. My pronouns are he, she, they, them, really any of them. And what do I wish I hadn't given up on? Oh, I mean, whenever I was younger, I was supposed to be going to the Kumon Learning Center or something. And at the time, I wiggled my way out of it because I improved my grades immensely, right? From getting, because like I got like my first C or something, and that was like a big deal for my perfectionist family members. And but like honestly, had I done like that work at the Kumon Learning Center or something, I would probably feel a lot more confident because it was mathematics and it was like applied math for like numbers and accounting and stuff like that, right? That we were going to work on when I was a little baby. And now I definitely could see the value in being good with the monies. So yes. Carol.
Okay, I'm Carol, she, her, and when when I was young and lived in San Antonio, so that was like in second grade, first and second grade, I took this combination. I went to had this combination class that was gymnastics, ballet, and tap, and I loved it so much. And then when we moved to Lubbock, I got mad, and of course they didn't have any kind of combination thing. They just had, one or the other, and I was like, no, if I can't go in San Antonio, I'm not going to Lubbock.
Ooh,
Yeah,
sassy.
yeah, my mom said that move is when I started rebelling and I didn't stop till I left Lubbock. But anyway, now that I know that I'm hypermobile and have lots of chronic joint issues and pain and stuff like that, I think maybe it might have been a good thing that I didn't, but I regretted it for many years and missed it. And so anyway, I love dance. I love things like that. So but now I chair dance. How about you, Marco?
Thank you. I am my mother. Well,
What's the answer to that good question?
well, I
What?
my goo.
Well, you stayed in school until you graduated.
Mo,
Oh, you wish you'd have done more like with college?
I gotta go.
Well, you still can. He just had his last day of school yesterday with his photography class. So he probably won't go back till next fall, but he gets to go back. Yay, that's a good answer.
Okay,
And it was more concise than me. Suzette,
yeah,
mother of goats.
Yes. I'm Suzette, she,
Oh,
her. And like Leo, I picked up the guitar when I was in maybe fifth grade, fourth or fifth grade, and my dad bought me a guitar, and like Carol, I was rebellious. He was wanting me to always break out the guitar and play a song for his friends whenever they would come over. And it was embarrassing to me as a preteen. So I gave my guitar to my brother, and he became a rock star. So, anyways,
yeah.
Tim, my brother Tim. So he's a musician, and all his kids are beautiful musicians. So
I like Craig's family.
it was a gift for everyone. But I have a guitar. It's over there.
okay, George.
Oh my. I guess when I went to college and I graduated, I wanted to go on and I wanted to go into clinical psychology. But to be honest with you, I was too scared. I didn't have any support. And so I took easy ways out. I took other jobs and did other things around me. Not that I didn't benefit from them, but just didn't have any. I guess I needed support to further my education. So, and I'm George. So anyway, you're on mute, Carol.
Oh, George, did you say your pronouns?
George.
Gregor?
Kreger, he, they, and I wished I would have learned how to read music, um, especially like the notes. I've been in choir now for, I don't know, 15 years with the churches, and I don't know how to read the notes. But I'm a great drummer, but that's what they always just said. You're not a musician, you're a drummer. You don't read the notes.
Mhm.
Ringer.
We're
But I am. I'm a good drummer. I don't know if y'all ever heard me play. I guess not. Like,
yeah.
AKA Dewana Jerrigan. Yeah,
Yeah.
her and I are buds.
Hmm.
So how do you learn all your songs for with the um with Forever Blessed? Just by memory?
Um, they hold my hand. A lot of times they recorded the tenor part track for me, and so I would
Oh,
just listen to it over and over and memorize it.
oh,
Nice. Okay.
wow.
Well, that's a talent in itself for sure.
Hmm.
Okay, Lynn?
Um, I'm sorry about the video. I've tried everything and I can't get it to come on. So I'm not purposely doing this. I think I may log out and log back in. But I'm Lynn, she, her, and like Gregor, he took the words right out of my mouth. I wish I had learned to read music. I love music. I have loved music since I was a kid. I have a vinyl collection of more than 300 albums. My first one I bought when I was like in ninth grade, and I still have it. Um, and I love music so much. My son, of course, did learn to play music and was first chair trombone for all of his high school years. But I never learned to read music, and that's what I gave up. I had the opportunity because, like in seventh grade, I was in the choir. I always sang alto. I have a great ear for music, but I never learned to read the notes. So that's what I wish I had done differently.
Wow. Nice. Okay. Um uh have you been just as an aside, Lynn, have you been on other Zoom meetings where your camera worked on that laptop?
This
Yeah.
This laptop it's always been here. And my larger PC, I had some problems with it, and I don't have Zoom Workplace loaded on it. And so I didn't have time to do all that tonight before I logged in. So I just decided to use a laptop. This is actually the first time that, maybe the first time that I've used a laptop where I was on Zoom. But the
Well, you might
camera,
not have
it's like,
not all laptops have a working camera. So
Mhm.
this one
yeah, so
does. It has a working camera, and it's acting as though when I click it that there's a video, but nothing comes up. So,
well,
and the
we're
light,
glad you're here
camera,
anyway, and
the
we can
camera light
imagine.
is on, but you can't see me. So,
Well, we can
but
just
I
imagine your
still look the
beautiful.
same. I haven't changed much in a couple weeks.
Okay. All right. Well, tonight we are talking about the title is Peace Signs. So I was thinking about just the symbolism of the Christmas season and the Yuletide season, the solstice, and how so many of those things came from other places, particularly pagan religions, Celtic traditions, and things like that. And anyway, I just love that kind of symbolism, and and but then just thinking about as we lit the Advent candle for peace this week, as some of you may know, in the Advent wreath, the weeks go hope, peace, joy, love, and then the Christ candle in the center. And so this week is about peace. And I thought that just talking about peace as well as peace signs would be an interesting place to start. So, one thing I learned today is that the peace sign itself was was originally created out of an N and a D, and for nuclear disarmament, and that's how it was initially uh, that's how it originated. So there's a lot of I'd like to just maybe start by just talking about what is the definition of peace. And I I believe that it's a lot more than just the absence of war or the absence of conflict, but you know, getting rid of war would sure be a nice place to start. And there's a lot of war still going on in the world right now. So, um, who wants to pick it up with maybe a definition of peace?
It goes
Oh, Gregor, I like that flowery that I'm
flower
I'm
child,
such a like yeah,
flower
I'm
child.
such a hippie. I love that. That's beautiful.
Well, I can start. Um, People always ask me what I want. Not that this is my definition of peace, but people always ask me what I want for Christmas, and I always say peace. And they said, "Oh, George, that's stupid. What do you really want?" And I said, "I want peace. I want peace for everybody. And peace to me is just calmness. Everybody gets along, everybody's happy, they're positive. They're just thinking good stuff, just peace. Living in the world, just happy. Maybe the flower people, maybe they had it right because it embodies just happiness, colorfulness, peace, love thy neighbor.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful thing to wish for. That's a beautiful thing to wish for. And I think it encompasses one of the principles that I think of when in terms of the definition of peace, and that there can be no true peace without justice. Um, and and justice is a big word.
Mhm.
And it means a lot of there's a lot encompassed in that word, but I think that's so true that we need um, I don't know. I don't know if I want to go into like a big definition of justice, but I mean, it's equality, equanimity. Um, it's like getting rid of the isms, getting rid of oppression. That's justice. And um, I want to maybe just gently challenge one of the things you said in terms of the definition. I think when we think of peace, we think about everybody getting along. Um, but one of the things I've been thinking about lately is that there may be some benefits to conflict. Um, and this was pointed out to me one time. I grew up in a family with who kind of that were kind of conflict avoidant, I think, or I don't know. My parents seemed to get along pretty well, and when I was like 12 or something, and I found out a lot of my friends' parents fought very loudly and publicly, and some of them were getting divorced and everything. I went home and told my mom, what are you hiding from us? Why do you hide these things from us? And she just laughed and said, honey, me and your father, we worked through our major conflicts before you were born. And so I never really got to see like healthy conflict, or at least not in my formative years. And um, and I think that's a loss. I think one of the ways that we demonstrate love, particularly for the people, like for partners or for children or for people that we're really close to in close relationship like that, is that we um, allow conflict and disagreement without fracturing the relationship. Tell me what y'all think about that, or and how that has played out in your life. Do you have people? Well, Jared and Leo, you're our couple on the on the show. Are you able to work through conflict? You've said it several times, so I know the answer already, but maybe you can tell us more about how you work through conflict and then stay so connected and loving with each other.
Yeah. Why?
I think forgiving and letting go of your ego is very important. And saying I'm sorry, because I'll admit that I wasn't very good at saying I'm sorry or apologizing, because that was never modeled in my household. But I have to say I'm 1,000 times better. Like,
Right. For me, I mean, because so I think because like there's two things, right? There's the question about my relationship, and then there's the broader question. And so like I'm gonna do my best to connect them. So like they're like from east to west, like there's this common thing that happens in like theologies and spaces, right? And for instance, in a lot of like in the Gita and like the more like Hindu faith, right? There's this idea that we're supposed to keep a level of internalized peace while still doing our job, even in the midst of a war, right? Like the Bhagavad Gita is literally a depiction of that, where there's like you have to do the right thing, you have to do what you're supposed to do, and it might be very, very emotionally challenging, but you have to have within yourself a peace. My father, a hot minute ago, described to me back whenever I was a lot younger, the Shaolin monks that basically studied, right, like peace, so that to the points of where they could be in literal conflict, like literal violence, literal physical violence. But it wouldn't disturb, it wouldn't like disrupt the inner peace. And so many saints, Catholic saints, right, speak of the importance of doing the right thing while maintaining faith in your higher power, in your Christ, in your internal, spiritual system. And so for me, whenever it comes to peace, right, for the scope of our relationship, it's always like keeping this sort of internal stability, right? Right, like where I understand that, emotions, feelings, all the things, everything is born, everything dies, right? But I still have to do the right thing, no matter what. I always have to do my best, and I have to recognize that everybody doing their best, right? And for me, that's been the most useful thing for my part in the relationship, because it allows me to not internalize and not hold on to things when they happen, right? Because like so many relationships, they occur where it's like the person is just picking up bags, right? Picking up bags, right? And it's just, you're just waiting for that your encumbrance, your weights to be too heavy. Yeah, you're keeping the score, right? Retaining that memory, right? And then whenever it's just too much, the breakup happened over, I don't know, someone, they sneezed on you, and that's just the last straw because you've been holding on to every other straw. And so for me, it's like that, maintaining that while still doing my best has been the priority. Now, and that's been the most helpful. And I think that applies mostly to peace. Because, just be like peace, for instance, for us, like the people of color in the room, like our relative spaces, it hasn't just been like good, without justice, without working, right? Because there's been so much abuse that we've sat through, right? So much, like structural violence that we've experienced, right? And, like when we sit down in peace and don't lift a finger for it, it's peaceful, right? But it's also violent. But if we just continue to do the right things, right, while maintaining our inner peace, right, you may notice there is a difference in the actions when they are done out of a state of stability, of equanimity, of equality, of egalitarianism, rather than, like internalized beef and all that stuff. But that's all I got. We've been together 10 years, but there has been people who've been together, so I don't know, they might, that's all I know. That's what's been useful for us.
And also learning how that person likes to be loved, because Jared is a very very touchy person, very like he wants a hug every single time, and I wasn't I was never that way, and now I am, because I learned how he likes to.
Right. And for me, that was also very useful too, because like having to recognize the limitations of time. And so that we, like whenever he hasn't eaten, for instance, right, like we have to set these firm boundaries, right, like on times for physical affection, times for physical contact, right, and like mitigating, like it also creates this peace. So it's not just doing, it's also a negotiation too.
Nice. Okay. That was good. And I saw Lynn for a second, but then she disappeared again. So
Yeah.
anyway, Gregor.
Yes, Lynn.
Hi, Lynn.
Hi, Lynn.
Hi, Lynn.
You look good.
Told you I had changed.
I don't know. Paul and I have been together for 12 years, and I think because of our age, we had both been in prior relationships that lasted, I think, 14 and 15 years. And so we got all of those major mistakes out of the way in that first relationship, that first long-term relationship. And now I think, we just want to be in community with each other. I mean, nobody wants to be, okay, so what things we don't do, we don't nitpick. Is that what you're wearing? No. We don't nitpick. We don't do stuff like that. And um, if it appears like we're on the verge of a moment of disagreement, then we can allow that. We can allow space for each other to voice their opinion, concern, or whatever, and just hold space for it. And because no two people agree on everything 100% of the time. But I liked this definition that I found. It said the true meaning of peace is multifaceted, the absence of violence and conflict, war, hostility, but also the presence of harmony, justice, and well-being in relationships, societies, and within oneself, encompassing tranquility, inner calm, freedom from fear, and a sense of wholeness. And I would say for me, the thing that steals my peace away the most is fear. I can be a very fearful person and just afraid of just about almost anything. You know, I got good at being afraid when I was a little kid, and it's hard to get over that when you're a grown up, even with therapy.
Yeah, trauma response. And so, George, that goes back to your definition of that, what he said about tranquility and harmony. That does go back um, to resolving conflict. I guess maybe by that definition, it's not that conflict never happened, but that it has resolved, or yeah. So I love that. I love it.
Blessed are the peacemakers.
Mm-hmm.
So in coordination with the title of peace signs, what are signs of peace? Okay. What does it like if the world was at peace, what would we see first?
A dove with an olive branch.
Oh, true. That's true.
Okay. Would we see leaders meeting and ending the wars?
Not necessarily, right? Like, because like it's yeah, that's because like if we're talking about leadership being a sign, a sign of peace, right? And the leadership getting it together, like there's like a curse where it's like all the people in positions of power are always like the most ineffective, right? They're always the most, they struggle the most, right? And so like having, them be the sign is the hard, I don't know, because like they don't speak for us, right? I for sure hope Donald Trump doesn't speak for me. Like, like just, right. I think it's much more like complicated when things are veering towards. I think it's more like towards peace is what we're looking for, right? Right, like where it's like where people are deconstructing and people are, like these signs. But as far as the sign that we have reached world peace, I don't know if that's the thing. The world's too fun.
Well, yeah, but I wonder if some of the things that you said about interpersonal conflict, I wonder if those could be applied in broader contexts as well. Lynn?
So I think of the signs of peace. That was a good question. I think of peace as silence and quiet within one's soul and, within one's mind. We all talk about, we go to bed at night, we have all these thoughts running around. So it's hard to go to sleep sometimes because you're thinking so many things. And I relate very very closely to Krager's fear as a child. I remember from 0 to 9, actually 10, being afraid of virtually everything. But because by the time I was 9, I had lived in 3 different states with 3 different sets of caretakers, and so I was fear was a big thing for me. So when I think of peace, I think of quiet. Um, Rocky Mountain National Forest in Denver, Colorado, uh, climbing a boulder and hearing nothing but silence and looking out over this vast park with boulders as huge as mountains and the silence of nothing, seeing a bird cross the sky. So when I think of peace, that's what I think of in terms of internally. And I think that publicly, socially, we have seen peace twice in the world. And the first time was when God shut down the world for COVID. Um, I think that there was peace in the world. I think there was peace in the United States because people didn't have a choice but to go home and sit down and shut up and try to get along with each other. Now, maybe there wasn't as much peace in households with people who hadn't always spent a whole lot of time together were forced to spend time together. I'm pretty sure that there were some battles going on. But the thing that I remember about that, some of the things that they said was there was less pollution. The air was purer and cleaner because there weren't as many cars, planes weren't flying, trains weren't running, and to a certain extent, there was peace. Of course, the president at the time came along to destroy all that peace, but there was peace when God shut down the world. The other time that in my lifetime that I can think of when there was peace was after 9/11. Um, there was a uh, where I am here. It was like strangers who didn't know each other were more courteous to each other. They were, people spoke to one another. It was like we're kind of all in this together. Isn't it terrible that the United States of America has been attacked? And so there was some level, I think, of community, which also I think in terms of as peace, where people aren't as willing to be combative and argumentative and rude and nothing like what we see now. So I think of that. And Francis and I have been married for 10 years and lived together for 12, and we have yet to have an argument. I'm waiting for the first time that for that to happen. Now that doesn't mean that we don't disagree with each other about things, but I think perhaps our life experiences and maybe our relationship with others for extended periods of time, because I had another relationship for a long time before this one, and so did she. It's just kind of like, you know what, live and let live. Is that really worth arguing about? I mean, kind of can understand what Leo was saying, letting go of my ego and not wanting to be right and learning to say, I apologize or I was wrong about that. There has been one time when I offended her with something that I said. And she walked around, kind of stomped around for a minute. I didn't even realize she was stomping around. And she came into the kitchen and she pulled up the chair next to me where I was sitting and she said, I need to say this to you. And so she let me know that I had hurt her feelings by saying something. And immediately the first words out of my mouth, I am so sorry. I apologize. I didn't mean it that way. And so I think that when you have that spirit, when the first thing in your mind, no matter what the situation is, peace, then you model the peace for others who may not be willing or able or whatever. So those are my thoughts about peace. It's a great topic, by the way. I'm loving this.
Oh, good. Suzette?
So I think that personal peace has to be where we all start. And so I think that peace isn't an innate guaranteed thing that we just have, right? It's something we all aspire to and want in our lives. But I look at people who live in other countries who maybe have never seen it, heard it, had it modeled to them. Like their lives were just brought up in a world of hate, in a world of distress and stress. And I think if I were going to wish for anything, is for every person on this earth to experience a minute of peace, at least a minute of peace, because I can remember, personal peace didn't come to me until I was, mm, when did we meet, Christy? Um, it went from family strife, and abuse and just a, a household of fear to partners who modeled that same, it just kept going. And then one day I just said, I can't live like this. I'm not going to live like this. And I chose to be alone. Like I was still working and, doing all the things you do. But in order for me to get right in my own head, I had to get away from the noise, get away from the toxicity, get away from it in order to decompress and deconstruct and get to that place of peace. And some people never have that ability or they never get to have that. And thinking about it right now makes my heart cry because I know that there's children out there who've never known it. And when they get old enough to hold a gun, someone puts one in their hands, and that's where the hate comes from. And my biggest memory as like a preteen during Vietnam, growing up was seeing the rifle with the flower in the end of it, or the gun with the flower in the end of it. And to me, um, it's not something we just know. It's not something that we're born with. Some of the people in the world just don't ever get to have or know it. So I would pray for everyone in the world to have at least one moment of peace so they can make that choice and say, I want that. I don't want this. And it might have the ability to stop some of the craziness in our world. No, a minute of peace, and that those babies, those people, those children, those young adults would never choose the other way. And that's making me really emotional and sad at the same time. Because I know there's children out there who have never known it. They've just known war and guns and, calamity and murder and killing, and it just doesn't make sense. None of it does. So praying to God tonight for everyone to know peace.
There are adults out there who've never known.
Yes.
Yeah, I
And
was
those
just
are the
And then
thinking
people.
there are
about
people.
I was thinking about the people of Gaza and, over in the Middle East and you know, I know there have been times in the Middle East when there's not necessarily full-blown bombings and all that stuff going on, but when you see images of Gaza right now on the news, the whole place has basically been obliterated. And for as many people that have survived that, I just, yeah, you would wish nothing more for them than to just have a minute or two of true, real peace as defined, by some of the ways we've said that tonight. And I can't imagine that they have it. Yeah. Talk
I,
about being afraid.
and yet some people do find it in the midst of that. I was reading this beautiful true novel. I never finished it because I loaned it out and never got it back. Anyway, I'm gonna get a new copy and finish it. I think the name was Apiragon, and it was about a an an Israeli man and a uh, Palestinian man who both lost young children to not to the current conflict, but to just the fighting that was present prior to this current conflict, and how they came together and formed ever farther outreaching a, groups that would fight for peace and that would just share the love across the border. It was just really beautiful. Jared and Leo.
Yes. And towards what Craig was speaking about, like I think for a lot of us, we have to also recognize a level of privilege that comes with peace, right? And that also comes with what Suzette's speaking about and what all of us is speaking about, right? Because, like for anybody to get to that level and just internal peace, right? Just internal psychological work, right? There is so much that we have to actually resolve, whether it is on the inside or on the outside, that needs to be addressed. And some of it is so very unresolvable, right? And so that there are so many people, like there may be moments, seconds, right, when you're not being bombed and where you can find appreciation in the divinity and of all the things, right? But to get that true lasting peace, a peace that's going to actually last more than a couple of moments in time, the one that everyone waxed poetically about in Bibles and Qurans and all the passages, right? Whew, that it requires so much work, and some of it involves like lifetimes, and some of it may never happen in their lifetime, really, and that's a really sad thing, because when we are sitting right in the pieces that we experience towards the ends of our lives, right, the lasting pieces that we experience when we've resolved some of our stuff, and enough of it to be satisfied with how everything's been going. There are millions of people who haven't, who and will never, and and so that's why that's a part, the fact that there is an inequality in peace, right, is why it's so important for us to work to address it, because it's something that we can advocate for in our own small ways. It's something that we can push towards in our own communities, and it's something that we can help to address, because let me tell you, right? Whenever someone's in the depths of an addiction, right, and they are in like the full like harms of their trauma and the full like impossibilities of the human trafficking rings and all of these different dissident spaces that are just in Texas, just in the Houston area. Hope has to be abandoned for survival. Peace has to be thrown away for survival. And so to give these people back, some iota of peace, it's very, very difficult. And it's impossible for some. Many people have died before experiencing it. But we still must try, right? Because I mean, we're all, we're all like the reflections of it. We're all God in drag, right? Everybody's doing their best and all that. But it's still but we also have to reckon with the cruel reality there, though. And it's hard, and it's painful, and it scares me sometimes.
Well, that makes me, Jesus was called the Prince of Peace. And certainly, Jesus didn't have a lot of advantage of, I mean, he had parents that cared for him, we're told, and that kind of thing. But I mean, he lived in an occupied territory of Palestine, that and um, and died a very violent, cruel death, and yet we call Jesus the Prince of Peace. So what can we learn from that? I mean, Jesus certainly wasn't just get along, go along. Jesus upset the status quo. He was murdered violently because he didn't shut up and be silent about the injustices in the world. Um, so what can we learn from that? And what does that tell us about our God?
One of the reasons why he could be called the Prince of Peace, um, because I've been listening to the New Testament again, and I've made it through all four Gospels, and I'm now into the book of Acts as part of the practicing the way. Um, but Jesus always made space throughout the Gospels to get away from the crowd and find someplace silent and quiet and to be still. So he would come in, deal with the 5,000, deal with this, heal this, the blind guy, woman at the well and what have you. And then he would always, it's just, I can't even count how many times I heard that throughout the four gospels that he went off to pray, he went off to be silent, or he just had to get away for a minute. So again, maybe part of that Prince of Peace definition comes from that because Jesus had a lot of harsh words to say. I just got done listening to all four gospels, and there was a lot of harsh things, yelling at the Pharisees and Sadducees um, and all those things. But at the end of the day, the big message was about love. It was about love. And so maybe that's he wasn't I don't recall him being called the Prince of Peace actually in one of the Gospels. I mean, I just finished listening to them. I have to look it up, but I
Right.
don't recall hearing that. But maybe that was just a title that was given to him after the crucifixion. I don't know. Let me look it up.
Yeah, I think that's in some of our Christmas messages where it was quoted from the Hebrew scriptures. He shall be called Wonderful Counselor, da da da, Prince of Peace. Um, so yeah, I can't quote chapter and verse, but I believe that is quoted in the New Testament from from the Hebrew scriptures. Um,
Yeah, it says Jesus isn't directly called the Prince of Peace within the four Gospels.
okay.
I didn't think
And
so.
of course, obviously, I mean, Christians have taken those verses from, I believe it's Isaiah, and attributed them to Jesus, but of course, that's not who they were originally describing.
Yes, actually, it's Isaiah um, 9, chapter 9, verse 6 in the New International Version. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. And he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. So you're right on that, Reverend Carol, Isaiah 9.
Thank you. I should also bring up that Lynn posted in the chat from Philippians. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. So, well, we're nearing the end, so I think talking about the Prince of Peace is a beautiful way to kind of round it out. I'd like to um, if how has this to me this subject has just talking with all of you, these people that I respect and trust and care about, has just brought a sense of tranquility and and peace. I think that's the best way to describe it. I have loved this session. So that's my impression of the day is peace. Anybody else want to share?
I guess I'm kind of feeling the same way. Like I could go grab my blood pressure cuff right now, and it seems like my numbers would be good right now because it's my boss has been on vacation this week and I'm covering it. It's been a tad stressful, and I'm just kind of like, oh, I'm going to be able to hopefully go to bed and get some rest tonight after this conversation.
Well, maybe that's a place to start. You know, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. And maybe it starts with just a simple conversation. Okay. Um, well, we still have 4 minutes. So Jared?
No, I just used the fork. I was just like, oh, it's 4 minutes. So okay.
Okay. Um, I really liked that definition that you brought forward, Krager. Where was that from?
It's pretty much the same one that Lynn just put in.
Okay.
Which I never like to, well, I can't say never. I Being a retired educator, it's hard for me not not to give more than scripture, but to also give secular context to conversations. And so I'm, former English teacher, I'm going to go to Merriam-Webster and see what Merriam-Webster says about peace. And it's amazing. It's tranquility, quiet, the words that in the definition, a state of security or order within a community provided for by law or custom, freedom from being disturbed or bothered by people or noise, freedom from disquieting or oppressive thoughts or emotions, harmony in personal relations, a state or period of mutual concord between governments, a pact or agreement to end hostilities to those who have been at war or in a state of enmity. And also used interjectionally to ask for silence or calm, or used as a greeting or a farewell. So peace has a lot. But, and then there's the Star Wars. So
Okay.
it's a big word that carries a lot of meaning, and I think, and I agree with the mother of goats, that not everyone gets to experience that. I know I certainly I was well into my 30s before I could spell peace, before I knew the difference between PEACE and PIECE. So, yeah, it is a work. It's a journey, like Christianity, like being a Christian. It's not something that just appears that you just have. You have to work at it, for sure.
Yes. Well,
But I am feeling like Craig, very peaceful.
Well, I'm gonna go to sleep singing "Let There Be Peace on Earth." And speaking of
and
sleep,
let it begin with me.
a
Right?
lot of yawns, including a couple of loud ones over here. So, hopefully we'll all have a good night's rest tonight, and and hope I see you all next week.
All right.
Another good conversation.
This has been a great one.
Yes, it has. It's been wonderful. Prager, would you pray us out?
Sure. Well, we're going to do a little bit of an exercise right now. We're going to practice the presence of God in this closing moment. So let's just take a deep breath in and release it. Holy Spirit, come into our presence right here, right now, in this moment. We are present with you right now. And another breath in and another breath out. Holy God, we're grateful for this discussion regarding peace and everything that means. It's a complex word. We're grateful for this discussion, and we're grateful that you were present with us during this time. And we hope that others will land on this and find it helpful and peaceful for them. Another breath in and another breath out. Holy God, we open our hearts right now to be recipients of your unconditional love that radiates through all of your being toward us and each and every one of your children. We open our hearts and are ready to receive it right now in your presence in this moment. A deep breath in and a deep breath out. Holy God, help us to practice your presence as much as we can remember to do so as we go throughout our days the rest of this week, and bring us back to another beautiful conversation next Thursday. We ask these things in the holy name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, brooding.
The breath, it all starts with the breath.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
All
right.
right,
That was
love y'all. Have a good
beautiful.
week.
That was
Bye-bye.
beautiful. Thank you
Love
so
you
much.
guys. See you soon.